up guys, Infernape here. Now it should come to no surprise to you that in the Pokemon games, the strongest, or some of the strongest at least, some of the strongest trainers of all time in the game are the Elite Four. And I gotta have to admit, the Elite Four to me used to represent some of the most powerful trainers in the region. While in other games, the Elite Four are nothing more than a level 2 Caterpie. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going over all of the Elite Four from easiest to hardest. And this is going to be quite an interesting video. Like, obviously I'm not going to be including Pokemon Sword and Shield because there were no Elite Four, even though the last 4 battles you have before you face the champion is supposed to be the Elite Four, even though they're not technically the Elite Four. But this should be quite an interesting video because I feel like there are going to be quite a few surprises. Keep in mind, this is based on my opinion. You're free to have your own. But I definitely feel like this is going to be quite an interesting video. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. If you think that I misranked one of the Elite Four. And if you have any video suggestions for the future, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, we're going to be kicking things off with the easiest. So in 7th place, I believe that the easiest Elite Four is the Kalos Elite Four. Like, I'm surprised if you didn't see this coming, because their Elite Four was so freaking easy. Like, literally, I spent little to no effort plowing my way through this stupid league. Like, it just really annoyed me that it was so easy. Like, literally, the Elite Four, they barely used any actual strong Pokemon. Like, the only thing that really made them strong was their levels. But even then, you had the experience share, which it was more than likely stayed on. And literally, you could beat them with, like, 2 Pokemon max. Not to mention, like, their movesets weren't the best in the world. I guess the best moveset out of all of the Pokemon would be a toss-up between Wikstrom's Aegislash and Drasna's Noivern. But they were so laughably weak. It just annoys me how they're supposed to be the Elite Four, but they're not very elite. Not to mention, they didn't have 5 Pokemon. When you're the Elite Four member, you should have 5 Pokemon max. 4 is too laughably easy. At that rate, you might as well just call yourself the last gym leader, you know? And worst of all, none of them used Mega Evolution. This was the game where you introduced Mega Evolution for the first time, and hardly anyone used it! They had the capability of doing it, then just decided not to. So, I don't know what Game Freak's excuse is. I honestly don't. I swear to God, if they make a very faithful remake of X and Y, I am not going to enjoy it. Because no one will use Mega Evolution! Not to mention the Elite Four will be too freaking easy. Alright, now I'm bumping up to 6th place. To be honest, this Elite Four wasn't too much stronger than Kalos. It was pretty close, but not by much. So, in 6th place, we have the Alola League. Now, to me, the only thing that really made them difficult was their Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon counterparts. Now, let's be honest, who would rather pick Sun and Moon over Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? I don't know anyone who would. Like, I personally think that the Alola League was somewhat difficult, but not the most difficult. Definitely was a lot more difficult than bloody X and Y. If you ask me, probably the hardest Elite Four member in this league was probably the Steel-type user in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think his name's Mullane? I can't remember. Mainly because he was running a Metagross. Because, you know, pseudo-legendary. Get it? But, yeah, I have to admit, the Alolan League was pretty difficult, but not as difficult as I was hoping. Like, if you're someone like me who's been playing the game for years, it's not the hardest game in the world. In terms of the Elite Four, anyway. But they made the same mistake as the past 3 generations from where that was. From Unova to Sun and Moon, they made it the Challenge in the Elite Four a random order instead of going up in succession. Not to mention, they made all of the Elite Four equally as strong. I don't like that. I do not like that at all. Like, the Elite Four is supposed to get harder the further you go. Like, it's supposed to make you improve yourself. Like, makes you need to think harder. Like, that's the whole point of the Elite Four. But if they're all equally as powerful, you're not getting a challenge. So what's the point? At least this Elite Four actually use their in-game mechanics from their home game. Like, Z-moves. Like, that's also another reason why I believe that they're a tiny bit stronger than the Kalos Elite Four. Because at least they actually use their mechanic instead of X and Y only having like a couple Mega Evolution trainers. Like, at least they learn from their mistakes, but it still annoys me of the fact that it's still a tiny bit too easy. Alright, now we're getting into some really hard ones, so this should be fun. In 5th place, I actually think this one is a bit of a controversial opinion, but I still think it is actually quite difficult. That being the Johto Elite Four. Now, some people may find this Elite Four easy, some may find it hard, but I'd say it's a nice in-between stage. This game is quite an interesting one, because keep in mind, in Johto, it is near impossible to level up your Pokemon efficiently. So you have to rely on either a hack, or maybe even an in-game cheat, or do what I did in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, where you plop a Pokemon in the daycare, then go to Ecruteak City, go into the gym, and then maybe tape your up button down, so that way you're constantly running upwards through the gym, and leave it for a few hours, and watch your Pokemon level up insanely, and at the same time, lose your money. But, at the same time, it's probably the only way to level up your Pokemon. Like, that's probably what makes this game hard, because it's near impossible to level up your Pokemon correctly. But the Elite Four definitely don't make it easy for you. Well, apart from Will, who was kind of easy if I'm honest. Like, the Elite Four in that game, I would say, is probably a decent challenge. Like, it's a good way to help younger players see how to improve yourself. But if you're like an experienced player like me, all you need to do is make sure the type advantage matches up, and make sure that you have a very powerful attack, and it's stab, and you're pretty much set. Like, the only thing that really makes it hard is the champion, but we're not going over champions, we're going over the Elite Four only. If you ask me, I feel like the only thing that really makes these games hard is when you play them in the original game, Gold, Silver, Crystal. Because you have limited options for this game. Like, limited moves, limited Pokemon, just limited everything. Not to mention limited TMs. Because the TMs back then definitely were not the best, if I'm being totally honest. If you're doing it in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, yes, it is somewhat difficult, but it's also, there are some elements that make it easier for the player. So, it depends which version you play. If you want an easier experience, Heart Gold, Soul Silver will probably be better. But if you want a harder experience, Gold, Silver, Crystal. Still, the Elite Four on that was pretty difficult. Now in 4th place is a region that I think is harder when you use its counterparts, not the original game. That's just my opinion. But in 4th place is the Unova League. Now, Unova, I believe, is, well, easier if you play in black and white. Like, black and white is Elite Four is a lot easier than the last game I was just talking about. But what makes this game difficult, in my own opinion, is when you play black and white 2 and you use challenge mode. Now that is insanity. Yes, they don't do the it gets harder in succession and thing, which I prefer, but at least they have 5 Pokemon. Not to mention, their Pokemon have a level boost, and they're actually a decent challenge. Like, if I were to say the strongest, I guess maybe Caitlyn? But I would probably say that Caitlyn is the strongest based on their team members. Still, in challenge mode, it's actually a challenge. In regular mode, it's alright in black and white too, but in black and white, it's honestly so easy. Like, I'm going over the main story games, not the like rematches you have. So based on like the first time you face them, I would say that the black and white 2 Elite Four are better than the black and white Elite Four. But if I were to say which one's the strongest overall, Black and White 2 Challenge Mode wins overall. And now it's time for the top 3. These are by far the Elite Four that I have struggled with the most in my entirety of being a Pokemon trainer. So in 3rd place, I would say the 3rd strongest Elite Four is the Hoenn Elite Four. By far one of the hardest Elite Fours I have ever faced in my life. Like, what kind of makes them hard is their originals, not their counterparts. Like, Oras was pretty strong for a new player, I would say. But for an experienced player, you could probably take it out with Little thanks to Mega Evolution. Because they didn't have Mega Evolution either. Well, at least they got harder in succession, at least. But what makes the Hoenn Elite Four difficult is their original games. And oh boy, were they a challenge. Now, the first 2 Elite Four members aren't the most difficult members in the world, because Sydney has Pokemon whose secondary typing are weak to other lot of typings. So, the only ones you really have to worry about is Mightyena and Absol, and they're not too difficult, so all you need is a decent fighting type attack and they'll go down. Like, I also don't think Phoebe is that strong. Like, yes, you do need either Ghost or Dark type moves, and Ghost and Dark type moves aren't exactly the most easiest to come by. So I would say just bring along a Mightyena with you. You should be fine. And as for Sableye, just take it out with pure power, and make sure you don't get hit with Will-O-Wisp and Toxic. But the other 2 members, holy crap! These 2 are by far the deadliest 2 I've talked about so far. The Ice-type user Glacier, she is insane. First off, she kicks things off with a Glalie who has Hail and Light Screen, which is quite a deadly combination, because Hail gives your Pokemon chip damage unless you have another Ice type, and since her type is Ice type, Hail's not going to affect her Pokemon at all. Then Light Screen. Light Screen is definitely quite a difficult move to get around, because the other 2 common types that Glacier is weak against is Fire and Electric. And back then, all Fire and Electric moves were considered special attacks, so Light Screen just cuts the attacks in half. So unless you have a Blaziken or a Hariyama who knows Brick Break, you're going to be having quite a difficult time taking on that Elite Four member. But by far, the worst Elite Four member, the Elite Four member that I struggled the most with, is by far Drake. Holy crap, this guy is insane. I'm just going to say this now. There's no way you're beating Drake on your first turn. I'm sorry, it is just not possible. This guy is pure insanity. Like, he's running Dragon types, for God's sake. Not to mention a pre-evolved Salamence, an actual Salamence, 2 Flygon, and an Altaria. And in Emerald, he swaps out one of his other Pokemon for a goddamn Kingdra. and you know how difficult Kingdra is to deal with in Emerald, or in Gen 3 in general. So your only counters for this is to bring your own Ice type, which will do little to nothing, bring a Flygon with you, which again will do little to nothing, or once you get all 8 gym badges, get a Bagon, and then level it up into Salamence, which is going to take you so long to do, because this thing has a very slow experience gain rate, and it evolves at level 50. So good luck to you. Only 2 regions left. So I'm sure you can guess where this is going to go. But let's just get it out the way, shall we? In second place is the Sinnoh League. Now, based on everything, you know what's number 1, but let's just talk about Sinnoh. Sinnoh is by far one of the hardest Elite Fours ever. And to be honest, one of the hardest games ever. Which is why I love Gen 4 so much. It's also because it was the first region that I saw the anime in, and it's also the first lot of games I played, but that's neither here nor there. Still, their Elite Four is insanely difficult. I remember when I first played it as a kid, I couldn't even get past Aaron. Mainly because I didn't properly know how type matchups worked back then. I just threw whatever was relevant and then just one-shot everything. Back then, probably was not the best idea. But now I know better. And I still lose a couple of team members when I face the Elite Four in Sinnoh. So, I'd say that the Sinnoh O League is quite difficult. Aaron is a good flying or fire type, you can breeze through. As for Drapion, just bring a relevantly strong ground type move, or a relevantly strong ground type, you'll be fine. Bertha, while her type isn't the strongest, she does have ways to bullshit you. So, good luck getting around it. Flint is difficult mainly because he doesn't have a full team of fire types. Even though a Pokemon YouTuber that I saw did actually explain why Flint has those Pokemon. So after watching it does make a bit of sense why he had those Pokemon. But at the same time, they're not fire types. So that's really the only thing that makes him strong. Especially that Infernape of his. Oh god, that thing is pure insanity. That Infernape is taking out at least 1 or 2 of your team members. But Lucian is insane! I feel like to take on this Elite Four, you need to bring specific Pokemon in order to take them on. And what I mean by that is, let's say I'm playing through a Pokemon game and I think, I need a Pokemon that can take on Lucian or Flint. So for Lucian, I would bring a Ghost or a Dark type, and one that can easily outspeed their opponent. Hence why in the best team for Platinum, I picked up Weavile, because it's a Dark type that can outspeed most of Lucian's Pokemon. As for Flint, all you need is a relatively strong Water or Ground type Pokemon if you're playing Platinum. With Diamond and Pearl, you're going to need to fluff around a little bit, but it's not that hard. Still, I would say the Platinum version of the Sinnoh Elite Four is more difficult due to the fact that they've got larger Pokemon variety. Like, Aaron's got Yanmega, Bertha's running a Rhyperior, which is insane by the way. Flint is running stuff like Magmortar, so that's also quite insane. But Lucian runs a goddamn Gallade. And if you're not prepared for that Gallade, it's taking you out. I'm just saying that now. Be prepared for Lucian and Flint, because they will destroy you. And as I'm sure you've guessed, number 1 is the Kanto Elite Four. I'm going to be very specific about this one and say I'm talking about the original Red, Blue and Yellow Elite Four, not any of the remakes. Like, I guess the Fire Red and Leaf Green version was alright, but I'm definitely not talking about Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. That game was made for, like, 3-year-olds. Literally. A 3-year-old could probably take it on and win, with little to no effort. Still, Red, Blue, and Yellow Elite Four is pure insanity. Because limited Pokemon, limited moveset, and overpowered typings. With Lorelei, most of her Pokemon are water types. Like, all you need to do is bring a relatively strong electric type. Like, if you were playing Red and Blue, I would recommend Electrode or Raichu. Like, if you play specific version, maybe it have Electabuzz, depending on how strong you can level it, how quickly you can level it up. If you're playing Yellow, definitely use Pikachu, or maybe even a Zapdos if you're able to get it. But with Bruno, this one's going to be difficult, because you need to bring a specific flying type. Like, definitely do not bring Pidgeot with you. That thing is going bye-bye if you bring Pidgeot. I would recommend bringing Fearow or Dodrio, because back then critical hits were determined by speed stats, and those two are by far some of the speediest Pokemon that are also flying type. So all you need to do is stick on Drill Peck on either one of those, and you're pretty much set. Or if you really want to, you can use Fly, but I would personally use Drill Peck, because I believe Drill Peck is a high crit move, so that even doubles your chances. With Agatha. Now with her, it is difficult, because her ghost types you can't take on with other ghost types. And if you use a psychic type, since they're part poison type, the ghost types will just take out the psychic type. So if it were me, I would use a Pokemon that is both a rock and a ground type, because she also runs Golbat. So I would recommend using either a Golem or a Rhydon. If you really want to, you can use Graveler, but it won't be as effective. But if it were me, I would just go with Rhydon. It's probably your best bet. But with Lance, holy crap, this guy is insane. Your best bet with Lance is to bring a rock or an ice type. So like I said, use that Rhydon. But considering that are very limited ice types that are actually good, your best bet with an ice type is either Lapras or Articuno. Funny how you have to use specific Pokemon in order to conquer this Elite Four. That's how insane it is. And considering there's only 150 Pokemon that you can use, and most of them aren't even that good, you're stuck with quite a lot of like Pokemon that you would have to repeat using. Plus, not to mention, the moves they can learn are very limited. So you're going to have to be very creative in order to use a moveset that is somewhat effective. So for me, that is what makes the Kanto Elite Four the hardest Elite Four out of all of the Pokemon games. And there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it, if you agree with my rankings, if you think I misranked one of the Elite Fours, and if you have any video suggestions for the future, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Also, for another video, I'm going to be going over who I think is the strongest champion. Therefore, I'm going to be ranking the champions from weakest to strongest. So let me know in the comments how soon you want that video, because I can definitely make it as soon as. Did you enjoy the video as much as I did making it? If you did, be sure to give it a massive thumbs up, comment down below, share this video with a friend, and if you're new, subscribe to my channel to be an Inferno today. Okay, that's all from me, so until the next time, this is Infernape, signing off. Bye!